Russia importing titanium and other raw materials crucial for their military production. So question to Max would be, how do you see the change, the shift in policies towards blocking Russian military production by the means of cutting them from supplies of direct and indirect components to their military machine? How do you look at this, I would say, market that in a world's open economy, world's global economy, it's extremely hard to address those issues, but yet it is crucial for our defense and for the world's defense and for the world's security. So, Max Yakovlev, now this is your turn. I'd kindly ask you to give us your perspective.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for having me and for inviting me. I spent the last 15 minutes listening to Zelensky's speech and also to your comment and to your question. I have to admit that I'm not an expert on military supplies, of course, but from what I've heard and the idea of blocking Russian economy and military supplies, I think there is one thing that we in Ukraine really do exaggerate is like, I remember well because I stayed the whole time in Kiev after the full-scale invasion. I just relocated from the central part of Kiev where I'm living now, but to the famous left bank Tryeshina. I do remember well these first weeks when there was some kind of feeling that the Russian economy will either collapse today or tomorrow. It will happen immediately. Russia will never recover, and that is going to happen very fast. And I think because of many other who commented also for Ukrainian media and who really contributed a lot to having this over expectations. I mean, to expect too much that Russia will crumble and Russia will not be able to produce anything the very next day was very wrong. I think that we have to warn our colleagues abroad and think our partners, and this is what I believe Zelensky did, is that Russia is keen on fighting parallel imports. Russia is keen in avoiding sanctions. Russia is keen in collaborating with another horrible regimes like North Korea or Iran today, and finding ways to get the supplies it needs. Of course, we have to pressure Russia, and this is, I always say, this is the decision of Russia, not that this is a decision of our own to be under sanctions, because Russia is punished for what it's doing to Ukraine for violating the world order. But I just would like to discourage all our listeners from believing that the very next day Russia will collapse economically and they will get no supplies. We have to be ready for fighting, taking back our territories. We have to be ready for pushing our foreign partners, for providing us with tanks, with fighter jets and things like that. And we don't have to it's much better to have our expectations, to have the supplies of our Western colleagues and the Russian crumbling economy exceed our expectations than to have it otherwise. That we expect too much, that we have wrong fantasies, and it means that we get more relaxed, and then we get more dissatisfied. And this is the first step to any sort of frustration. We get frustrated if we don't get what we want the very next day. We don't have to be foolish and childish. So this is my main idea. We have to explain, and this is what exactly the 10th package of European Union, the sanction package. The most, if not the most of it, but the big part of it is like punishing those companies who are helping Russia in avoiding sanctions, and also punishing those who do the parallel import into Russia. It's very important to find them and to punish them so that Russia will not get the supplies. So I think from our Ukrainian perspective, the correct message would be Russia is keen on fooling you. Russia is keen on finding ways to get the supplies. What we all need is to really pressure Russia. Russia needs to be excluded from any international platform it may have its hands in, because it uses its own interests, which means destroying the world order, killing Ukrainians, and expanding its empire. And this is wrong.
Brilliant. Absolutely
brilliant. I have one question